We now move to the second part, which is the writing part for the grade 10 elite. The question 16 is to solve exponential equations and inequalities. The first question is about investment. Monique wants to invest 4,000 in a savings account that pays 3.4% annual interest compounded continuously. Yeah, this is very important. Compounded continuously means exponential is involved. Now the formula over here is given A equals P, that is the initial amount, e to the power RT. Even if you don't get this formula in the question, please remember it. Now here I'll just tell you what each term means. That's what is explained. A is the amount after certain time t, whereas P is the initial amount and E is Euler's number E, R is the rate of interest. Now whenever it's being compounded continuously, we take E, that is 2.71. It's a constant number. And the first question over here, what is the balance of Monique's account after 5 years? They have given all the details. See, this is P, this is R, and the time is also given. So just substitute what is the amount after 5 years. That would be 4,000 multiplied by e to the power R is 3.4%. You can write it as percent directly in calculator, and time is 5. That will be the answer. Just put it in the calculator and that will be the answer. We will do it in a while. Now let's go to the second one and write the equations. Monique wants to wait until there is at least $6,000 in account before withdrawing any money. How long must she keep money in the savings account? Now it's about time. How long? That's the time, right? So let's see over here. A, P e to the power RT, but it's about inequality. At least is used. Now we need to find the time where the money exceeds $6,000. So this amount must be, whatever we find must be greater than or equal to 6,000. So 6,000 must be having the lower sign. So here we have 6,000 less than or equal to, initial amount is 4,000 times e to the power R is the same thing, 3.4, but we don't know, okay, it's percent, we don't know the time t. So now what you can do is just divide both the sides by 4,000 and take off this coefficient before e. So it'll be over here 6,000 by 4, 6 divided by 4 is 1.5, will be less than or equal to e to the power 3.4% t. Now to solve exponentials, all you need to do is take natural logarithm on both the sides, ln over here and ln over here, e to the power 3.4% t. What happens is they are inverse, right? Natural logarithm and exponential. So basically you will have ln 1.5 less than or equal to 3.4% t. So to find t, now I'll just write in the same order because there's inequality. Just do ln 1.5 divided by 3.4%. That will be less than or equal to t. That's your answer. The last question over here is, suppose Monique wants to have at least $10,000 in account. Okay, now again it's 10,000 at least. After 10 years, the time is given and the rate of interest is same. What is the principal amount? The initial amount, how much she should invest in order to have 10,000? This is 3.4% and time is 10 years. So after 10 years, she wants to have 10,000 in her account. For this rate of interest, how much should she invest? Just divide both the sides by e to the power 3.4% into 10. You will get the answer. That should be less than or equal to p. So this cancels off. So that would be the answer. Now over here, you're dividing both the sides and whatever you get the answer over here is p. Okay, let's do it in the calculators now. So I've typed this equation as it is, 4,000 times exponential is by shift and ln over here, 3.4% is by shift and this opening bracket symbol above it is percent into 5. The answer is 4,741. Let's just check the answer. Yes, that's the correct answer. Let's round it out to 2 decimal after the 2 digits after the decimal, so it's 2. And the second one, we have it over here. It will be natural logarithm ln 1.5 divided by 3.4%. Sorry, it's percent. That's over here. And the answer is 11.93, you can say. Yes, that's correct. 11.93 is less than or equal to t. And lastly, we have over here, it's 10,000 divided by e to the power 3.4%. That's over here, multiplied by 10 years. The answer is 7017.7. That's the answers. If you know how to write the formula and substitute, very simple. Now here it's the same thing. I'll just walk through the answers. Now here the depositing amount is $750 and the rate of interest is 2.7. Formula is given. We need to find after 3 years. So just substitute over here 750. 2.7 in percent. So it will be divided by 100. So it's 0.027. If you write it in percent, it's 2.7. Multiplied by the time 3. Put it in the calculator. You'll get the answer. Here for the next one, how long will it take for the balance to reach at least 2000? Same thing we had a while ago. We have to write 2000 less than or equal to 750 and solve it up. Over here, once you remove the coefficient of e, you should take ln on both the sides. It's called ln or len, natural logarithm on both the sides, and then you'll get the answer. Now the last one is, she wants to earn at least $1,000 after 5 years. And the compound rate of interest is same. So how much money should she invest initially? The p value is unknown. Divide over here by this term, both the sides, and you will get the answer 873.72. So that's how we solve that problem. Now let's look at a population growth problem. Here also they have given you the formula and they are telling you A0 is the population at time t0, which is the initial population. R is the annual growth rate. The world's population at the beginning of 2008 was estimated to be 6.64641 billions. Okay, it's this much is millions, then comes billions. If the annual growth rate is 1.2%, when will the world population reach 9 billion? So now let's write the equation. A is known to be 9 billion. I'll write in terms of billions. 9 is equal to 6.641 billion. And then e to the power r is 1.2%. And the time is what we are solving for, t. Now divide everything by 6.41 billion. You will get 9 divided by 6.641 equals e to the power 1.2% t. Take natural logarithm on both the sides. It will be ln 9 by 6.641 over here equals ln e to the power 1.2% times time. And then this and this cancels. You're remaining with only this. This will be equal to 1.2% time. So you can just divide everything by 1.2%. Over here also 1.2%. And what you get is whatever the answer will be equal to t. So we'll just put in the calculator. I've typed everything in the calculator and now we get 25.33 years, that is 25.33. This is the time. But here they're asking when exactly, which year will the world population reach 9 billion, isn't it? We know 2008 was the initial population. So we need to add 25 years to 2008 plus 25.33 years. 25 plus 8 is 33. So 2033.33. In 2033, it is estimated that we'll reach 9 billion. But as of now, it's 8.1 billion already. It might reach much earlier. But this is the estimated population based on old data. So that's how we solve this. And you can see, okay, they have taken it as 25, but we got 25.33. That's fine. On average, it's 2033. So that's the thing. And again, another similar one which we have done before about investment. So I'll just walk you through this. Here they have told Jamie's bank pays 2.8 annual interest compounded continuously on a savings account. She invested 2,000 in the account. Using the formula over here given, determine how long will it take for the initial deposit to double its value. The only thing is, here they have given you the principal amount P, R is given, Time is unknown. They're asking what time will it take for this money, whatever she invested, will be doubled two times. So you have to just write 2 times 2000. If you write the amount as 2 times 2000, that is the amount, or 4000, because it must be doubled, right? So here what happens is, to remove this coefficient, you divide both the sides by 2000, this cancels. So you're remaining only with 2 over here, and then you just solve it up. It'll take 24.75 years of investment to double this amount for this particular rate of interest, because the rate of interest is very low here, 2.8%. Yeah. Over time, the amount of carbon-14 present in non-living organic material decreases. Radiocarbon dating is a technique that measures the amount of carbon-14 that is present in these material to estimate age. The exponential function y is equal to ae to the power kt represents the relationship between the current amount of y of carbon-14 in organic material and the initial amount a of carbon-14 over the time t with the rate of decay k. Now what we need to do is, they have given all the data, the amount of time it takes the amount of carbon-14 present in an organic material to decrease by half is given over here, 5,730 years. This is called the half-life. Use this information to find the rate of decay. Write your answer as an exact value. So now, this is the formula. I'll just write it over here. Y is equal to ae to the power kt. And they want you to find the k, the rate of constant, the decay constant, because as time goes on, this radioactivity of the carbon, it decays, right? That is given over here, the half-life, that is 5,730 years. So the time is known. Let's substitute one by one. Now if I have the initial amount of, say, 1, like if I have a initial amount, what is the, after 5,730 years, what will be the amount? It'll be half of this, isn't it? Because it occurs a decay, half-life. So here y will be half of a. So I can write this as a by 2. This will be a. And what is e? E is a constant. K is unknown value. That is what we are solving, the rate decay. And the time over here given is 5730. Now this a and a cancels when you divide both the sides by a. So you'll have half equals e to the power k 5730. Now you take ln on both the sides, it will be half over here, and ln over here. What happens? I'll just write it directly. This goes because they're inverse of each other. You will have k times 5730, and now divide both the sides by 5730. That'll be ln half. This is n half divided by 5730 is equal to k. This is the exact value. I guess they want the exact value, so this is how we can write, I guess. Yes, that is what they want. Now, just bear in mind that is half, which I've written very weirdly. This is 1 divided by 2, divided by 5730. That's how we do the first part. Let's see the second part. Suppose a fossil initially contained 200 milligrams of carbon-14. Write an equation to represent the relationship between the age of the fossil and the amount of carbon-14 currently in the sample. Now initially some fossil which had 200 milligrams. Now we know all the other data. I'll write E, and the K value is known, ln half divided by 5730. Now they want the relationship between the time and the amount after certain time t. So here y, if I write, and this is the time, this is the formula. Let's just check, because they have not given any time, so it's with respect to time and y over here. So at any time we can easily find it out. Now if they tell you, say, okay, they have not given time, but they have told you use a graphing calculator to estimate how long it will take for the fossil to contain 40% or less of the carbon-14 it initially contained. Then solve the inequality algebraically and compare your results. Now here they are asking, for this one, what if it is 40% less, because it's a decay, right? Now this y turns out to be 40% less. It will be 40% of 200. So this cancels. Or you can just write over here 40% and over here 1. That's fine, because this always cancels off. Now you need to find what time, isn't it? Basically, how long by graphing, but I'll and compare your results. Okay, I'll just do it by algebraic method. Over here it'll be 40% equals e to the power ln half by 5730 times t. Take natural logarithm on both the sides, and you're remaining with this entire term down. Okay, so it'll be ln 40% is equal to ln half divided by 5730 times t. And you can just solve this, take this to the other side and put in the calculator, you will get the answer. So here, that is what is done. But I forgot to tell you one important thing. 40% or less, this is an inequality. I took it as equal to. I'm sorry for that. I'll correct it now. Here they have told the fossil contains 40% or less. So it can be either 40% or less than that. So this whatever answer we get must be lesser than 40%. So it'll be greater than or equal to. If it was greater, at most more than certain amount, it'll be over here other sign. We are looking at this sign. Here this must be less than or equal to 40%. Okay. So this can be, lesser than that. So that's how we write the inequality. And then now when we solve this, I'll just solve it up over here. It is very important to solve it by parts. Don't just put everything in the calculator because it's inequality. If it was an equation, it's fine. Directly put in the calculator, you get the answer. So let me just first do the left side, ln 40%. How much is it? It is, I'll write it out over here, negative 0.916 and 3 it will be. It's greater than or equal to. Now the same thing to the right side. Over here we have ln half, that is 0.5, or you can write 1 by 2 divided by 5730, and the answer over here is a very minute answer, that is, I'll just write it as it is, negative 1.209, it'll be 1, it's fine, into 10 power minus 4 time t. Now here, since we have both negative signs, what happens? The inequality needs to be changed, isn't it? When we are dealing with inequalities, here to make them positive, 1209 into 10 power minus 4t, the inequality flips. Now just divide here in the calculator. Now this must be positive, so I'll just multiply with minus 1. So now I can directly use this as the answer, 0.9163 divided by the answer, it's already saved. So the answer is 7574.72. So let me write it out over here, 7574.7. Now time must be more than or equal to 7,574 years. Only then it will decay more than 40%. It will be 40% or less. Otherwise, no. So see, it's little common sense as well. You have to have the value more than 40% or less. It should be decaying mode, isn't it? So the time must be obviously more than certain amount. So that's one way you can understand this. Let's just say the answer. It's 7575 because it's 0.7, right? So they have just rounded it off. Even in the graphing calculator, if you graph them up, you will get the same answer. Now, investment problem, we have done it a while ago, but here they have just told, I'll just show you over here. They have given you two equations. See, the same formula, 5,000 is invested at 2% rate of interest at time. And over here they have told one more, 3,000 invested, 4% rate of interest. And time is multiplied here. When will be the time when these both amounts are equal? What time? So you just equate this and this. Equate them and solve it up. Since it's an equation, you don't have to worry about anything. Just divide it however you want. You can put in the calculator, solve it up. The time is 25.5. Once you solve it till over here, you can directly put everything in the calculator and simplify, So that's the thing. If you want, you also can do one more thing. That is, just divide this 5 by 3. It's over, right? Now you can take ln on both the sides and simplify as well. But then over here, the property of ln must be used. So it's a bit tricky. No, anyways. So Try some methods and it's up to you to solve it. If you use over here ln on both the sides, remember two terms are multiplied, so you have to do ln 5 by 3 plus ln e to the power 0.02 and simplify. But whichever method is easy, just follow that and solve it up. That's the end of this topic. It's about inequalities. Just be careful when there are inequalities. Remember, the inequality changes when there's negative and all that. Some basic things you must remember, and then it's all easy. In this video, we will learn how to graph rational functions with its asymptotes. Here we have a rational function. First thing is try to expand the functions. Now here we can see it's x minus 4 the whole square. It's in the form of a minus b the whole square. We have to remember the identity. It's a square minus 2 times ab plus b square. Now instead of a and b, we have x minus 4 the whole square. So it's x squared minus 2 times a is x, and it is 4 over here, plus 4 square. Now please remember the signs are already mentioned in the formula. So a and b is just the values, not the sign. So it'll be x squared minus 8x plus 16. So this is the expansion. So this question is basically x squared minus 8x plus 16 divided by x plus 2. So you can see there is no way we can simplify any terms. The degree in the numerator is greater than the degree in the denominator. So then we must know there will be a oblique asymptote. Now we will come to that in a while, but before that, before we have to graph it, we need two important things. The vertical asymptote is always the denominator made equal to 0. So for the vertical asymptote, I have to just make x plus 2 equals 0. So x is equal to minus 2. This is our vertical asymptote. So in our graph, at x is equal to minus 2, there will be a asymptote. Now what next? You can see this degree over here 2 is greater than the denominator by 1, So 2 and over here it's 1, so there is a difference of 1. Then we can directly jump to horizontal asymptote. Here what you basically have to do is do the long division method. Now you can go to synthetic division, but it's better to do long division because sometimes the numerator might be complicated. Now what it means is I have to do x plus 2 divided by x squared minus 8x plus 16. Now we need to simplify this, divide this basically. What do you have to multiply here to this terms to get x squared, the first term? It'll be only x. X times x is x squared, and then plus 2 times x divided by, over here the signs change, so you need to change the signs of both the place and cancel it off. It'll be minus 10x. And now what do you have to multiply x to get negative 10x? It's just minus 10. So x times minus 10 will be minus 10x, and over here we have 2 times minus 10 is minus 20. But I forgot to do one thing. I forgot to bring this down. This comes down over here. Now you have to change the signs here. So when you change it, will cancel off. And here the remainder remains. The remainder is 36. But we are not interested in the remainder. You can skip this. If you get this much, that is more than enough. This is the horizontal asymptote. So we have the vertical asymptote, we have the horizontal asymptote, and now you just have to make a table of values and graph the function. Now for the table of values, you can directly use the calculator and make a table. I will show you now. Now you need to press more and then press the table option, that is option number 7. And now let's type the given equation or the simplified. It's up to you because this will anyway simplify it. This is easier to type, so I will just take that one. It is alpha x minus 4 the whole square divided by x plus 2. Now press next. Here in your latest, if you have the latest model of the calculator, you get this. Ignore that option, just press equal to. Now where do you want to start? Now we know the asymptote is minus 2, right? So generally we would start few values below the asymptote and above the asymptote. In the sense, I will start say minus 5. I can end it anywhere. I will just take it as 3. So I have made this as my midpoint. And then step 1 means you will have a interval of 1 between minus 3 to minus 5 to plus 3. That means you will have values of minus 5, minus 4, minus 3, minus 2, and so on. So I'll keep the step 1 over here. Here it is negative 5, all these values are there. Just make a table of value, write these values down and then graph it. So we will just look into the answers now. We can see we have done this already. The horizontal asymptote is also done. Now we can look over here, the value. See, from minus 5, it's minus 27, minus 32, and everything is there. Now what about minus 2? We know that the horizontal asymptote, can you see over here? Sorry, vertical asymptote is minus 2. So it's undefined at that point. That's why it's an error. All the other values are matching, so we can stop there. And then from these values you should plot a graph, and you should use these information as well. What we got the vertical asymptote over here at minus 2, and we have an oblique asymptote or a slant asymptote over here. So whatever these values, if you start plotting, it will become like this. So you generally get something like this. Okay, and it's understood you have to draw a smooth curve. That's it. Even over here, you would get points something like this. And then when you join it, it'll be a smooth curve. So that is how we graph it. All these problems can be done the same way, just that you need to use the identity and then simplify it. And then start the vertical asymptote, horizontal asymptote, table of values and graph. Over here, once you're in this mode, you can just press on and put in this equation and do the same procedure. Here they have found the zeros. Zeros is whatever is the numerator made equal to 0. And then you got minus 3. At minus 3 you will have this equation 0 in the numerator. Now denominator over here, you can see you have to just use the, for the asymptote here, we can see the degree on the top is 2 and down it's 1. The difference is just 1, so we will have an oblique asymptote. So you have to divide the above term, which is expanded. X squared plus 3 times 2 is 6x plus 3 squared is 9. And then we divide it from x minus 3. Do this method, that is x times x is x squared, and then minus 5 times x is minus 5x, and then x times 11 is 11x, and so on. Simplified, only the equation is required. This is the oblique asymptote equation you can see over here. And then we just make the table of values and graph it up. So this is how we do it. And same thing over here, the equation is already expanded, it's easier. Please do try this. All the detailed steps are there over here. And even this is the similar method. I will go to some problems which can be simplified. Now say for example, this one is also the same method, you can see. And important is table of values. Get that table of values in the calculator itself. And from this just table of values, you will have a brief understanding of how the graph is. You can predict the vertical asymptote and the oblique asymptote somehow, but it's very easy to find the vertical asymptote. So always just make the denominator equal to 0 and solve. Whereas for the oblique asymptote, here you get better understanding as well. So similarly, you can solve these. Okay, now these problems are interesting. Here, what you need to do is to solve this, you can use the calculator easily. If you go to mode 5 and 3, then you can solve any quadratics. That is 1 over here, then we have minus 2, and lastly we have minus 8. And here the answers are 4 and minus 2. So we need to split it in terms of x minus 4, x plus 2. And then what happens? It cancels off x minus 4, x minus 4. So you're remaining only with x plus 2. So the simplified version is what we graph, isn't it? We just have to graph x plus 2. But remember, from the original equation, we can infer that 4 made this undefined, so we have to avoid this. We can't use it in this equation as well, because the original equation was this and then we simplified it. But what about the denominator? So we make a hole at the denominator at the undefined values, that is x is equal to 4. So we make a hole, that is point of discontinuity. So the point of discontinuity in this equation is at 4. Similarly, you can graph the others. The graphing is very simple. It's just x plus 2. Here as well, first please split out this term and then you can easily solve it up. These terms cancel, x minus 2, x minus 2. You will have a discontinuity. Similarly, this one as well, you can use the identity x plus 5, x minus 5, or you can use the calculator mod 5, 3 and solve it up. Here's the discontinuity. Similarly, over here as well. And now over here, you need to split the numerator and the denominator. When you split it all, two of these denominators get cancelled off. So what happens is here, what is the zeros? It is x equals 4, that's over here, and x equals 2. So here these are the values for the, undefined points for this particular equation. And here as well, we just did a similar problem just now, the question number 21. Here in this problem, we can see that the degrees are same. It's power 1 and power 1. So in this case, we need to remember the horizontal asymptote will be at the coefficient of the numerator divided by the denominator. Here it's 1 and 1, so the horizontal asymptote will be at 1. Imagine you had some different coefficients. Say we had 3x divided by 2x plus 3. Then it will be 3 by 2. At this point, there will be the horizontal asymptote. The vertical one is always this denominator equals 0. And then you can easily solve it up. Now this is simpler. Just get the table of values. You can directly do this in calculator and graph it up. Same way, this one as well. This one you need to split it out. Point of discontinuity will exist at x is equal to 2. Over here as well, simplify it, then draw what is remaining, and don't forget the discontinuity point. Now, what about this problem? Here, x is in the numerator, that's degree 1, but the denominator degree is more. Whenever this happens, the horizontal asymptote is directly at 0. So the final answer, see the denominator over here can be split. These are the vertical asymptotes, but where is the horizontal asymptote? Here it's always at 0 whenever the numerator degree is less than the denominator. And here as well, you can easily solve it up. Because there is no degree over here, the degree in the denominator is greater than the numerator. We have horizontal asymptote at 0, and the other points can be easily found out by the table of values. Here it's a big one, but you should just go to mod 5 and 4, split it out, and then simplify all the simplifications. And then you just get x minus 2, but don't forget the discontinuity points. And the last problem here, we can see the degree of the numerator is bigger than the denominator. So what happens over here is we will have an oblique asymptote. Here there exists an oblique asymptote which is missing. But once you do it, the denominator, that's the vertical asymptote, table of values. And then, in fact, you have to do the oblique asymptote. Here it's missing, but anyways, that would be the answer. Somewhat like this, but there's oblique asymptote. That's the end of this particular topic. It's graphing. Please remember mode and 7. You can easily find all the table of values in the calculator, and then it's just about plotting points. Another easy topic, but please practice more problems. In this video, we will learn about variation. The variation might be direct variation, inverse, or combined variation. We have a real world problem about electricity. The resistance R of a piece of wire varies directly to its length. So let's write resistance varies directly to its length and inversely to its cross-sectional area. R is inverse 1 by A. This is the proportional variation proportionality, how we write generally in physics, But now over here, we can use the same concept, but we write the things which are directly proportional in the numerator, inversely proportional in the denominator. But here you need to add a proportionality constant called k. So now this is how we can write this equation, whatever they have told over here. A piece of copper wire is 3 meters long and 2 millimeters in diameter, has a resistance of 0.0107 ohms. Find the resistance of a second piece of copper wire 2 meters long and 6 meters in diameter. So now, first of all, we need to find the variation, how the K is varying. And then we can find the second wire, because for the first wire they have told all the details, but K is unknown, right? So let's substitute this one. First one, L1, and this is the diameter. So what is the radius? Here radius would be 1 millimeters. So once you find the radius, you can find the area, right? A1 can be found over here. First, let's do area. Pi r square. So area will be pi into 1 square. Now this is in millimeters. So this length I will consider to be millimeter as well, because it's radius in this area, it's easy to keep in millimeter square, or I can make this as meter, which will be a very small number. Here we have been given it's 3 meters. 3 meters. Now the way to convert is you need to write it in millimeters. What is milli? Small letter m will be 10 to the power minus 3. But you just can't write 10 to the power minus 3 and make it millimeter. You must add 10 to the power plus 3 as well. Here the 10 to the power plus 3 and 10 to the power minus 3 cancels off. So they are basically 1. It's 3 meters itself. But this is one way to write it. And then we write it as 3 into 10 to the power 3. 10 to the power minus 3 is equal to milli. M means 10 to the power minus 3. So I'll write mm. So this mm means this small m is 10 to the power minus 3. So this is how we can write. Otherwise, you just know 3 meters means 3000 millimeters. You can directly take this as well. Whichever you remember, please write it accordingly. Now let us substitute over here. So this resistance will be, now we know the resistance value, isn't it? Let's substitute the resistance value with 0.0107, that is equal to K, that is unknown, times 3 into 10 to the power 3 divided by the area is pi into 1 square. So that will be just pi. So let's take everything to the other side and solve. It will be 0.0107 times pi divided by 3 into 10 to the power 3. That is the K value. All you need to do is put in the calculator and solve. I've just typed it as it is. Now for the 10 to the power minus 3, you have this option. So you can directly give you 10 to the power plus 3. Sorry, plus 3, not minus 3. And this is the answer here. Let's just write it out. It'll be 1.12 into 10 to the power minus 5. That is the K value. If you want to write it in decimals, it'll be 0. A lot of zeros. That'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2. So now if you take this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, that'll be the decimal point. This is the K value. But you can keep it in terms of the scientific notation itself. That's 10 to the power minus 5. Now we found the K value. Now we need to use the same formula again. That is R is equal to KL by A, and find the resistance again for 2 meter wire and 6 mm diameter. So that would be R is equal to, we know the K value is 1.12 into 10 to the power minus 5. And what is the length now? I'll directly write it. 2 meters in mm would be 2000, or 2 into 10 to the power 3, divided by the area. This time will be pi into, this is the diameter, so 3 square. That is the area. Pi r square, radius is 3. So all you need to do is now type it out. Type this entirely over here. Type entirely accordingly. So now make sure you can use this as 10 to the power 3, or you can directly type this over here and 3. Both are the same. Now just press equal to. The answer is 7. R is equal to 7.923 10 to the power minus 4. Now here you can write it in terms of decimal. That will be 0.30792. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, this matches. So that's the answer. Now don't forget the symbol unit, that is ohms. So you write it like that. So that would be the answer for this problem. You can see the worked out solution is over here. And okay, this is wrong over here. I just realized it should be resistance. Let me just read it. Resistance is directly varying. So whenever they tell resistance is directly varying, R will be first. Okay, this is the formula. And then you solve it up. And okay, there is errors in the solution set. I just realized it. This cannot be 3. This is 10 to the power 3. They are missing this 10 to the power 3 because you cannot have one in millimeter and one in meters. Both must be in the same units. So because they have used 3.14, that means pi into 1 square. Here pi, the area is in mm. This also must be in mm. So this is the correct answer what I've written. And then okay, then they have done everything right, I believe. They have substituted and the final answer is same. But anyways, just refer to this, what I've written rather than that solution set. Only for this, it is wrong, but the final answer is correct. But still the methods are wrong, steps are wrong. Now let's go through these problems quickly. I'll walk through them. The size of the plant cells before cell division is directly related to water available for nutrition and inversely proportional to the bacteria present in soil. Now I write size is proportional to water divided by inversely proportional to the bacteria. So if I'm writing as equation, it will be Kw by B. So this is the formula for this. It's directly related to the water and inversely related to the bacteria. If a given plant cell grow to 1.5 mm when 0.5 liters of water is available and the bacterial level is restricted to 500 parts per million, what would the bacterial level be for the same plant whose cell growth is 2 mm with 0.4 liter of water available? So now the same thing is again given. There are two equations basically. So now these type of problems is easier if you solve like this. Here I'll just tell you S is how much? Kw divided by B, right? Let's write everything in terms of K. So take this to the other side. SB divided by W will be equal to K. And now they have given one more set of equations. So that is also equal to K, right? So if I give this as S1, B1 and W1, that is S2, B2, W2. Why? Because the constant is equated to each other, is equal, is the same for both the cases. Now you just substitute all the values. What do we know over here? Just substitute it. And then directly you put it in the calculator and solve it. I'll just show you over here. So you substitute this. S1, B1, W1 is equal to S2, B2, W2. And now over here they have given 1.5, 500, 0.25. Substitute the same thing in the next one. Only one is unknown. That is how much bacteria level is there, right? So just solve the entire thing and you will come to know 600 parts per million is there. This problem is about pressure. The volume of a gas varies directly with the temperature and inversely with the pressure. A certain gas has a volume of 15 liters, a temperature of 290 Kelvin, and a pressure of 1 atmosphere. If the gas is compressed to a volume of 12 liters and is heated to 310 Kelvin, what is the new pressure to be? So round here, answer to the nearest thousand. Just like what we did a while ago, the constants are equal, right? Right, how it is varying. The temperature at the top, the pressure at the bottom, and then we have to multiply the constant K of direct variation. Now move everything to the other side, you'll get V1 P1 by T1, that is equal to V2 P2 by T2. Just substitute all that is given over here. Everything is given. One value is unknown, that is second pressure, right? Pressure is what we need to solve. So now take everything to the other side and solve it up. Nearest thousand means three digits after the decimal point, because thousand has 3 zeros. And the answer is 1.336 atmosphere. We will look into this problem. Bulan works at a car wash. The amount Bulan earns varies directly with the number of hours she works. Bulan earns $144 for working 12 hours. Write the direct variation equation for the amount Bulan earns, Y for working X hours. They have clearly mentioned, right, in terms of Y and X. In this writing exam, please follow this. Now, I would have written directly money as M, hours as H, or time T, but here they have clearly mentioned what you need to write. So let's write Y earning is proportional to number of hours working. So Y is equal to, you can write it as Kx. K is the constant of direct variation. So earns how much? 144 in 12 hours. Okay, so K is unknown, so this will be 144 by 12, that is K. So for each hour, she will earn 12 is equal to K. So this is the direct variation. Now, how much will Bulan earn for working 18 hours? So we know K is 12, right? So Y is equal to Kx. Now here they have also told to write the direct variation equation. So I'll just write over here before we solve that. K is 12x. This is the direct variation equation. Now we will just substitute 18 hours and solve it up. 12 is the K value multiplied by 18 hours of work is considered. So 18 times 12, 180 plus 32, it will be 30, sorry, 36, it will be 216 over here. So it is $216 that will be earned after working for 18 hours. So that's how we write it. Write this equation and the amount of money she earns as well. Now the other problems are similar. It's a direct variation problem. As a general rule, the number of parking spaces in a parking lot of a movie theater complex varies directly with the number of theaters in the complex. And they have given us the values. We have to just substitute and solve. In this, we can see over here, typical complex has 30 parking spaces for each theater. That is the K value. That's a constant value. So 30 for each theater. So that is the slope, you can say. K is given as 30. Now, if you want to build 210 over here, how many theaters you must have? X theaters. So just divide both the sides by 30 and you will get as 7. So that's it. The equation over here, directly K value is given. So you need to write that. Now we have table and we need to use the basic knowledge of direct and inverse variation and check whether they are both. If they are not direct and inverse, you should tell neither. Here, I'll just walk you through this problem. All you need to know is the direct variation formula is y is equal to kx. And take any two values. We start with from the first one itself. Y is the y value given, 12. X is over here. Find the k value. K becomes 3, right? Now, for the next one, check whether this works. If you multiply 8 by 3, are you getting 24? Yes. If you're multiplying 16, yes, it is true. So this is very simple. Direct variation are very easy. You can just see over here 4 times 3 is 12, 8 times 3 is 24, 16 times 3 is 48. Same way over here 32 times 3 is 96. That is directly varying. Now, what about inverse variation? First, you need to check for direct variation. Okay, over here 2 is equal to k into x. K value is 1/4. Multiply it over here. Does it work? 1/4? No, you should get 1 over here, but you're getting 4, so it's not. Now, we must know the inverse variation formula. Now, y1 is equal to 1 by x1 because it's inversely varying. But then we have one more, that is y2 over here inversely varies with x2. See, both are inverse. If you have y1 over here, x1 will be at the right side bottom. Same with y2, down left side bottom is x2. Now what do you do is substitute these x1, y1, x2, y2 over here. So x1 is how much? 8. That is x1. y1 is 2. x2 is 4 and lastly y2 is 4. Now solve both the sides. Are they equal? Yes, they are equal, so they are inversely varying. If they were not equal, both the sides, both the cases, then they are neither. But here for the inverse variation, yes, we get the answer. And let's check one more. See, I think so this is, yeah, neither. So here it is not directly varying because it should be 2. 3 times 2 is 6, not 9. Now you put the formula of inverse variation, y1 by x2 equals y2 by x1. Remember, your y1 is there, your x1 must be there. You can have y2, then x2 will be over here. Now here if you have y2, here it is x2. Then substitute all the values and check whether they are equal. 4 by 3 is not equal to 9 by 2 because 4/3 are 1.33, here it is 4.5. They're not equal to each other, and so it's neither. Another problem, real world problem, where the figure is given. Pre-made art canvases available in standard sizes. Analyze the relationship between the width and length of each canvas size. For each size, write a function that relates the length and the width. You need to write length, how is it proportional to width? So here you have to just write them. Length is how much? 11, width is 14. So it will be 14 by 11. Let me just show you over here. What is the dimension of the smallest canvas? It's given 11 inches by 14 inches, right? So now let's write the relationship. Here they have clearly mentioned width and length of each. So this is the width 11, this is the width, and the length is the bigger side 14. So they want us to relate length and width. So length is equal to k times width. But be careful, what is width and what is length? Now let's substitute over here. Length is 14, that is equal to k. What is width? 11. So we just substitute over here. The relationship they have asked is this. Take the 11 to the other side, will be 14 by 11 is equal to k. So substitute this as the k value. So L is equal to kW. So substitute over here. Same thing you do for the other things. But remember, the first one is width, second one is length. And then you can easily find it out the same way. And over here they have asked, for which sizes is the relationship between the width and the length the same? Okay, you need to see where you're getting this k value equal. So you're getting some values 4 by 3, 4 by 3 over here, many, and 5 by 4 is also same over here at times. So you have to just tell which are those. So we found out 4 by 3 is for 12 by 16, 4 by 3 is for over here 18 by 40, 24. So these are the values you should just mention over there. They're all having certain k value, that is this relationship. Then again, which are others having 5 by 4. And what does this mean in the context of the relationship between the width and the length as same for two canvas? Now here, they are basically enlargement of each other, right? By the same scale factor. So all are getting enlarged. See, as the width is being increased, the length is being increased. Everything is a scale factor. So that's what. At a particular scale factor, they are all increasing. And if you want to know which scale factor, over here we found out this ratio, right? K value. And the cost of painting a wall varies directly with area of the wall. Write a formula for the cost of painting a rectangular wall with dimensions length by width. With respect to length and width, the cost varies directly, jointly, or inversely. Now here they have clearly told in the first sentence, cost varies directly with area. That makes sense. The cost is more as the area of the painting is more. Now here they have also told cost is what? Area is what? Sorry, length into width. So if you write C is equal to K, length into width, right? This is what two terms are there. It's joint variation. Whenever there are two terms, it's basically joint variation. So the answer is it's jointly varying. It's as C increases, as length increases, the cost increases. As width increases, also the cost increases. Because length and width increase, then the area increases. So eventually the cost increase. An apartment rents for M dollars per month. If n students share the rent equally, how much would each student have to pay? How does the cost per student vary with the number of students? Okay. So they have told the rent is so much over here. If say rent is M and the students are N, each student will pay M by N per student. Always it's like that. Now just imagine you're going somewhere and say taxi with your friends. The bill is 90 dirhams and you guys are 3 people. So how much will each have to pay? Divided by 3, it will be 30 per person, right? The same thing. Total rent divided by the number of students, that is per student cost. How does it vary? It varies inversely, isn't it? So as the number of student increases, the per person it will reduce. So you can see here it's written m by n. Why is it varying inversely? Because as the number of student increases, the cost reduces per student. And if two students have to pay 700 each, okay, how much would each of the student have to pay if there were five students sharing the rent? Now they have told two students are paying 700, means what's the total rent? It will be 1400. Don't write 700 here, but because two students are paying 700 each, so total would be 1400. Now if five students are sharing, it'll be 1400 divided by 5, that is $280 per student. So that's how we do it. That's the end of this topic. There are different types of problems, but remember all are similar and easy, so please make sure you go through them properly, and if you have any doubts, post them in the comments and I'll try to get back to you very soon. In this video we will learn about trigonometric ratios and also about the reference angles. Here we have been asked to find cosecant theta from this figure. You can see here theta is given and this 90 degree, that's right angle. So we can know this is the hypotenuse, and this is the opposite, and this is the adjacent. Now the one which we are supposed to find is cosecant theta. Before we directly write in terms of hypotenuse or opposite, if you have memorized the sides, you might know it is hypotenuse by opposite. But the easier way is write reciprocal identity first. Cosecant is 1 by sine theta. Next, you know sine theta is opposite by hypotenuse, isn't it? So opposite divided by hypotenuse, but that comes up, so it will be hypotenuse up. So hypotenuse by opposite side. Now how do we know the measure? First, let's look at the scale. Every two blocks over here is 1 unit. So this is 1, 2, there's 3 here, and so on. Even over here it's 1, 2, and so on. So hypotenuse is required. We know this is 1 unit, and we have 2.5, 2.5 units. So we can directly write hypotenuse is 2.5 units. Now another way is you can just find the coordinates over here. What is the coordinate? It is x is 1.5, comma, what is y value? It is 2. What is the coordinate over here? It is 4 and 2. Now we can use the distance formula, that is square root of x2 minus x1 the whole square plus y2 minus y1 the whole square, and easily substitute it. You can consider this as x1, y1, x2, y2 and solve it as well. It's option. But since it's a straight line, I counted it out only when it's straight or vertical line. Yeah, you can see it's horizontally inclined on this line, isn't it? So that's why I just counted it. Now, but what about this opposite? Now for this, you need to find it by distance formula. I'm sure you know this distance formula many times, you've used it before, but I'll tell you another way. Now what is this line here? This is a straight line, isn't it? I know this is 2. What is this line? Sorry, this is not 2. That is 1, because 2 blocks are 1 unit. This is 0.5. Now this is 90 degree here, and this will be the hypotenuse. So I can use the hypotenuse formula. It will be x squared plus y squared. I'm just writing it. It's a squared plus b squared. That's fine. Now to find the hypotenuse, c squared, I need to find the horizontal x is 0.5 squared plus 1 squared. You can put this in the calculator and get the answer. C will be square root of 0.5 squared will be 0.25, and over here it will be 1. So this is 1.25 square root. Now this is divided by square root of 1.25 because that is the opposite side. Now if you put it in the calculator, 2.5 divided by root of 1.25, you will get the answer. I've just substituted this in the calculator. It's 2.5 divided by square root option is here, and it's 1.25, and the answer is root 5. So cosecant theta must be root 5. Let's look into the answer. Yes, that's the answer. Whichever method you do, this is fine. Now it's writing, isn't it? But whatever I've done over here is absolutely right. Now I've used hypotenuse, that's absolutely right, no problem. You have counted this and you have to write this formula and solve it. You should get full marks. because as long as you find the cosecant theta from this coordinate, it's fine, no problem at all. So whichever is easy for you, just follow that. And here it's the same way. I will just walk through these problems. You need cosine, and cosine is given by adjacent by hypotenuse. Now here we need this line, the adjacent line. Can you see that? Now how can you find that? That is one way is this is 1 unit and this one over here is 2 units. So I can use the square root of 1 squared plus 2 squared, and this is how I can also find it. So this will be square root of 5. So that is adjacent square root 5. And what was the hypotenuse? We had found out just a while ago it was 2.5. So this will be the answer over here. It's written out. That's the thing. Otherwise, you can use the distance formula and do it. It's up to you. Whichever you find it easy, just go with it. Again, similar problem, but it's cotangent this time. That is 1 by tangent, or it can be written as adjacent by opposite. See, adjacent by opposite is the formula. You need to just find out. It's the same figure, but in exam they might change. You might get two slanted portions, but you can easily use Pythagoras theorem, or you can use the distance formula, whichever is easy for you, and easily solve it up. Same thing over here. Secant is 1 by cos, and cos is adjacent by hypotenuse, which hypotenuse goes up. So that's the secant formula. Substitute and you'll get the answers. Now this one is interesting. There are many angles that share the same reference angle. Now before we start, first let's draw a quadrant. All the 4 quadrants, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I will tell you how exactly you can remember reference angles without memorizing anything. Now you need to understand reference angles is always from the x-axis. So this is the line, right? The angle from this axis. Now what is it? Over here it's theta. The reference angle is equal to the angle whatever is given in the first quadrant because it starts from here. So that's it. But what about the second quadrant? Now it's always from this axis, isn't it? So from here to here, what is the angle? So now imagine you are 120 over here. Okay, that'll be from here to here, right? 120, I'll just draw in dotted lines. Okay, but you need to find the reference angle with respect to this axis. So from here to here, what would happen? Total is 180 minus theta will give you this remaining angle, right? That is reference angle over here. So this is the reference angle. In the first case, yes, whatever is the angle. If it's 89 degrees, from here it's 89 itself. But here it's not like that. If it is, say, 120 degrees theta, it'll be 180 minus 120, that'll be 60 degrees reference angle. What about the third quadrant? The same concept from this axis. Let's count. This is theta dash. That's the reference angle. But how do we count it? Now this much is 180 degree and the theta is from here to here. So the theta is the entire thing, but we don't want the full theta. We just want from here to here. We want to subtract the 180. So theta dash will be equal to the entire theta minus 180. That will be the reference angle from this axis, isn't it? The entire theta. Now imagine you have 220 degrees. So 220 will be over here full. But we don't want the 180. So when we subtract 180, we will get 40 degrees. That's from this part to this part. The same way you can do over here to here is the reference angle to the fourth quadrant. And what about this one? Now imagine your angle is, say, 320 degrees. From here it starts and goes until here. But you want from this axis. So do the entire circle, 360 degrees minus theta. That will be the reference angle for these. So if you understand it's from the axis, then even if you forget the formula altogether, you can analyze it and get the formulas by yourselves. Once we understand this, then we can easily solve it up. Give 3 angles that have a reference angle of 60 degrees. They have told theta dash is 60 degrees, including at least one angle with a measure of greater than 360 degree. We'll come to this in a while. Now they have told the reference angles of 60 degree must be there. We need to find the angles, what will cause them. So all these formulas for the second quadrant, I'll use it now. Theta dash is equal to 180 minus theta, isn't it? You have to just find theta. That's it. Substitute theta dash. It's 60 equals 180 minus theta. Take theta to the other side. It'll be 180 minus 60. The answer is 120 degrees. Now for the third quadrant, let's do for all quadrant. They have just asked 3 angles. So you can do two quadrants and one more is 360. That is very easy. But let's do all four quadrants first. Now the first quadrant, it is 60 itself. Next one, over here we found 120. Now the third formula, let's write it. Theta dash is equal to theta minus 180 degrees. Now what is theta dash given? It's 60 is equal to theta minus 180. So take this to the other side. It will be 60 plus 180 is equal to theta. And you can easily solve it. 240 degrees is the answer. This is angle for the reference 60 degrees, having a reference angle 60. Even this one is having a reference angle of 60 degrees. Now the fourth quadrant, same thing. Theta dash is equal to 360 minus theta. We know it's 60 degrees is equal to 360 minus theta. Now we have to take this to the other side. Theta equals 360 minus 60 and theta is equal to 300 degrees. Now then, we have found all the quadrants, but they have told one must be greater than 360. If you do only these three, you won't get full marks because they want one greater than 360. That is very, very easy. 60 degrees is there, right? Just add 360 degrees. That will be 420 degrees. Now, 420 degrees will have a reference angle of 60 degree as well. These are coterminal, but yes, you will have the reference angle of 60 itself. Why? From here you start 360 and then comes to 60 degrees, right? So it will be theta dash is 60. So this is how we solve it. You can see the answers. Here they have not done all, but we have done all. Just substituting in the formula. That's it. So they have done only 3. We had done 4 just for you to understand. Okay, if they ask for. And now we have a real world problem. A tree is 15 and 1/3 feet tall and casts a shadow at right angle from the base of the tree. The length of the shadow depends on the angle at which the sunlight hits the tree. So now, depending on the sunlight hitting the tree, the shadow will be either more or less. Depending on the sunlight, right, the shadow really varies. So the same thing is happening here. Find the distance from the top of the tree to the end of the tree shadow. So this distance. That's the hypotenuse. I'll just write it out over here. When the sun is at the angle of 13 degrees, this is given as 13 degrees. The tree is 15.13, 1/3 is 333. Now I'll just write 15 1/3 itself for accuracy when I solve it. But here now, which angle connects the hypotenuse and adjacent? When I look at it, I can tell it's cos theta adjacent by hypotenuse. Now I know cos theta is 13, adjacent is known, that is 15 1/3, or you can write it as improper fraction, that's 15 times 3 plus 1, that will be 46 by 3, this is also fine, and divided by the hypotenuse is unknown. This is what we need to solve, right? We will take it to the other side. So the hypotenuse will be equal to 15 1/3 divided by cos 13. I will show you how we can directly put this in the calculator and solve. Let's use the fraction symbol here. Now there is 15 and 1/3. Now if you put again fraction symbol, no, it's not going to work. And even if you write 15 beside it, it's not going to work. What you need to do is, you need to press shift and this fraction symbol. Now you get mixed fraction. It's 15 1/3 divided by cosine 13 degrees. So it should be in degrees itself. It's 13 degrees. The answer is 15.73. That's the answer. You can see 15.7 feet. You can directly put this. Otherwise, you can also write this as here. Multiply the denominator over here, 1/3, right? 3 times 15 is 45 plus 1 is 46 divided by 3. You will get the same answer. Or you can just write 15.33. You will again still get the same answer, but it will not be so accurate, I believe. Put many threes, yeah, it's enough. It's more than accurate. So that's how we easily solve it up. Now they have asked, how long is the tree shadow? This is not known, and theta is given as 58 degrees. So we know this height, that is the adjacent, and we know the opposite. So which connects opposite and adjacent? It's tan theta, tan theta. So tan theta is opposite by adjacent, and just solve it up. Same way what we did a while ago. And that's the end of this topic. Very simple one. Just remember the reference angles, and then from the coordinate, remember to how to get the distances, and then please remember all the trigonometric ratios. Then it will be a very easy one. We are now in the last question, the question number 20 of the exam scheme. In this question, we need to write the equations of the trigonometric functions. The graphs will be given to us. We need to write the phase shift, the translation, and everything. Let's look into this question here. You can see the graph is already given to you, and they have told you to find the vertical shift, amplitude, phase shift, if any, and then the period and the function. So let's directly start the problem. Where is the graph? It has moved. It's not from the center, right? It has moved. And over here, which graph they mentioned? It's cosine. Okay, so with this information, first let's see the maximum and the minimum point. What is the maximum point here? It's -2, isn't it? And what about the minimum point? It is, if this is -1, -2, -3, and -4 here. And what else? We know it starts from up over here and it is going. Does cosine function graph start from the above? Yes, they do start from above. So that means there is no phase shift. Phase shift means instead of starting from above, the cosine function, instead of starting from the maximum point, what if it started from here? That means there is a shift, right, by so many degrees, so much distance. So that is phase shift. But over here, there is no problem of that. We will see another problem about the phase shift. Now, period is what? From year to year, when it starts repeating itself. You can see from here, it finishes one complete rotation. Now then it repeats itself. So the period is from year to year, that is pi. From year to year, it's pi. And the function, we need to write it. I have just written down few things. Now, before you start solving the problem, it's best to note down these things. And now we will solve one by one. The vertical shift and amplitude. Now, vertical shift value is k. First, I will write the standard form. This is important. It's always y equals a. It's cosine function, so I'll write cos. It's b. Now, since they have mentioned phase shift, I'll also include the phase shift h plus k. This is the standard form. Now, this vertical shift is the k value. This is equal to the midline. Midline, if we find, we can easily tell what is the k value. To find the midline or the k value, you need to see from here. Let us go down here. This is the minimum most point, -4, and this is the maximum point. So we need to find their average. Now, how do we find the average? We need this point, -3. That is the average between these 2 points, the midline, right? Mid between the maximum and minimum. So just take the average of these 2 points. That is -2 plus -4 divided by 2. Or you can take -4 plus -2 divided by 2. Just the average of these. Average means always adding 2 numbers and dividing by 2. Now imagine you have got a score of 9 and 10 in 2 exams. What is the average? You add them and divide it by 2. It will be 19 by 2 or 9.5. That's what we are doing here as well. So it will be -6 by 2, that is -3. Yes, the midline is -3. Or you can even directly see it, but since it's in writing, that's why I'm emphasizing using the formulas over here. Next is amplitude. Now, amplitude is just this part to this part, only this distance. Now, how can we find that? We don't want the average. We don't want the midline. Now, we just want to know the average, right? So, for amplitude, that's given by A. Okay. Let's take the minimum most point, that is -4, and subtract -2 from it. Minus of -2. Whatever the values are, if it was 2 and 1, then maximum most point minus the minimum point. So here, because it's downwards, -4, subtract -2 from it. This is very important. You can't just take random values. See over here, if it was like this, the amplitude, it was 1 and 2, then what should I do? 2 minus 1 divided by 2 would be the amplitude. Now here, minimum is -4 minus this much. Now divided by 2. Why? Because when I subtract -2 from -4, I'm just getting this much, right? From here to here. That is the full length from maximum to minimum. Amplitude is only from this midline. half of it. So I divide it by 2, make it half, I'll get only this amplitude. Now what's the answer here? It will be minus 4 plus 2 divided by 2, which will be negative 2 by 2. That's negative 1. Let's just check. Yes, it's negative 1, isn't it? From minus 3 to minus 3 to minus 2 to minus 3. But here you must remember, we always take the magnitude, okay, which I forgot. Now whatever the answer you get, just take the positive value. Just put the magnitude lines. That's fine. Just remember, we are not considering the sign or direction. We just want to know this distance. The amplitude is the distance over there. That is 1. So now we found the midline. We found the amplitude. What next? Phase shift. No, it's starting from the maximum itself. So there is no phase shift. Phase shift is 0. Okay, h is 0. H is equal to 0. Why? Because cosine function naturally starts from the maximum and then comes over here, then goes down like this. And it is starting the same way, so it's fine. What is the period? Period is where it repeats. I've already written its pi. Now, what is the formula to find the b value then? Period is equal to 2 pi by b. Now, we know the b value can be found out by 2 pi by pi. Cancel it off. It is 2. It's basically magnitude. You can write this magnitude, but it's positive only, so it's fine. So b value is also found out. Now write the equation. Now it's just that right here a, this is also a, then this is b. Write it in order in your exam and c. And now we will write the d equation. Y is equal to 1 cosine function. B is 2 times theta minus 0 plus k is minus 3. Right over here, this is the k value. So minus 3. So the final function equation would be cosine. Now theta minus 0 is theta itself, so I'll write 2 theta here minus 3. That is the answer. So the final answer must be like that. So that is, if you graph this, you must get this particular equation. You can see over here, it's not over here. So yes, that is the correct answer. Now each thing just by formula substitution, even in the previous things, the same thing. So it's a very simple topic. Once you understand the concept, the formulas, and understand how the graph works, then it is very, very straightforward. Now, please do try this problem by yourselves. I'll just walk through this. Here, the midline is already given. What is the midline? It's 2. So here, k value, it's, sorry, minus 2. It's downwards, right? Minus 2. But you need to do what? You need to take the average of maximum and the minimum point. Maximum is 1, minimum is minus 5 here. So add them and divide by 2. What about the amplitude? Amplitude over here is this thing, but you should subtract it. Now remember, since we're taking magnitude anyways, it doesn't matter which point you take. But I personally just take, see now we have maximum minus the minimum, or if you take minimum minus the maximum, since we're taking the magnitude, it won't make a difference. Now over here it's 3, but I'll show you if you take minus 5, minus of 1 divided by 2. What would be the answer? It will be minus 6 by 2. That is minus 3, but you must take the magnitude of it. So that is, it's just the distance from the midline to above. You can easily count it from the graph. So next is phase shift. Now here this is sine graph. Sine starts from here, 0, and it keeps on. There's no phase shift over here. So there's no phase shift. It's 0. And what about the period? Where it starts here and it keeps on going until 2 pi is the period, because after 2 pi it starts repeating. So we know it's 2 pi, then what is the b value? It will be 1, right? Because 2 pi equals 2 pi by b. So cancel this off, it will be 1. It's plus or minus 1 because it's the magnitude, but you can just take 1. And what about the equation? We know a value, that's amplitude, is 3. We know the b value is just 1, so you can ignore that. No phase shift, it's only theta over here, 3 sine theta, and midline is minus 2. That's how we write it. Now let's try this one. Here, this is which function? It's sine function, but there is no phase shift over here. It's the same thing. How about we will see a problem with the phase shift? So here, just do the same thing, the same formulas. There is no phase shift. Why? Because it starts from 0 and it keeps on going. So then the period and then the equation. Now this is, okay, over here I can definitely tell, doesn't matter it's sine or cosine. It is having a phase shift because it's going downwards. Now let's solve this problem. Here they have told cosine function, right? So let's see, it's not starting from the real point. It should start from its maximum point. It should start like this and then go. It should come like this. But now you can see there is a phase shift. There's a change in that. So we will come to it in a while, but starting things. First, let's write the equation. No matter what, we'll write the equation. Y is equal to A cosine B theta minus H plus K. And then what we do is we will start by one. The easiest ones are midline and amplitude. So midline K is equal to 0. Why? Because it starts from the origin. You can just write it is through the origin, right? The graph. So there is no midline. I mean, it's 0. There is no plus. And then the amplitude A is maximum, it's 2 minus, over here minimum is again minus 2. So it will be minus of minus 2 divided by 2. Why? Because maximum is 2. This is minus 2 here. That will be plus, and it will be 4 by 2, 2. Let's see the amplitude. Yes, from 0 to this part is 2 units. That is the answer. And then we found the amplitude. We know the K value. What else can we find? Let's do the phase shift here. Actually, the cosine function should start from the maximum point, isn't it? But where is the maximum point? It's over here. Or it's over here. So which point do we take? Really, you can take any. Why? Because, let me take this one. What is the H value? It will be minus 90. And if I add 360 degrees, what is the answer? It'll be 270, right? Yeah, 270 degrees. Now look at this point, it is 270 degrees. They're coterminals, so it's fine. But what, as a thumb rule, we do is, we just take the nearest one. This is nearer one, right? Minus 90. So I will take the H, that is the phase shift, as minus 90 degrees. Now remember, I personally used to do this mistake. I forget the sign. Whenever I substitute back in the formula, I forget to put this minus 90. Please don't do that mistake. It's very easy to make the mistake. You just write this much. It's wrong. It should be minus of minus 90. It should be plus. We will see it in a while when we do it. Now, next, what is there? H is done. This is the value. The period, right? What is the period? It starts from here. It continues and it takes 360 degrees to finish one complete rotation. So it will be period is equal to 360 degrees. What is the formula that relates period and the B value? It's 360 by B. Now we will take B to the other side. It will be 360 degrees by P value. That will be 360 degrees by 360 itself. This is 1 here. Okay. So B value is 1. We know everything is known. So I'll just write it out over here. Y is equal to 1 cosine function. What is the B value? It is, sorry, A value is 2. Okay, A value is 2. And that's 1 into theta minus of minus 90. Please don't forget this negative sign. I'm telling this, but many times students do tend to forget this. That's why please take care over here. And K is 0. So now I'll just simplify and write. It'll be 2 cosine function theta minus and minus becomes plus 90 degrees and it's 0. So this is the final answer. Now you have to just write it in detail, but this is the main concept. Now if I was correcting the paper, as long as you have written all this, that means you have understood. If you have drawn this on the figure, I would have given full marks because you understand the concept. That's more than enough. So here the answer is 2 cos theta plus 90. That's the answer. I hope this is clear. Please do try the other problems by yourselves. They are all straightforward problems, same like what we did. Remember, K value, amplitude, the period, then from period we find B value, phase shift, and substitute it. It's the same thing over here. Looking at it, we can even double check answers. If you get wrong answers, see here, we can easily count it. This is how much? 3. So you can count it and check it whether it's correct or wrong. And there we have reached the end of the writing part of the EoT. I hope you have found it helpful. Please do share my videos with your friends and your classmates. If you have benefited from these, please do hit the like button. Practice all the problems by working out yourselves. And if you have any doubts, post them in the comments and I will get back to you very soon. Take care, guys. I wish you all the best. and happy learning.